This turned out to be a bit of a strange match. Airfield tends to play a certain way. It doesn't really change much. The majority of the fighting takes place in the rocks around D5 and E6, that sort of general area there. And in this particular match, well, you'll see what happens. So I'm top tier in my T44, which is always a nice thing, and the replay is refusing to run smoothly. The enemy have quite a number of TDs, and a pair of F304s, which could be problematic. I do my usual thing, which is to try and take the position up here as quickly as possible. Now, in my slower mediums, particularly ones with gun depression like the Centurion, and also in tier 10 games, I tend not to head up to the right. In this case, I decided to play it safe with the T44 as well and didn't go up. I instead waited for an enemy tank to do the reciprocal action, which would be to go up their side, taking the left turn. Now, the fact that nobody actually does this kind of tips me off that something is not quite right with the enemy team, and with some aggressive spotting from Assassinated, I find out what's going on, unfortunately at the expense of all his hit points. The enemy team have not actually left their base on this side of the map. In fact, it looks like the bulk of their team are either camping in the back or down in the south of the map. So I'm not going to waste the opportunity while it's here. It's a stock turret T32 crossing the open. Now I'm missing almost all of his hit points. Assassinated's missing a lot of his, but he's still alive. I couldn't get gun depression on this Tiger 2 and didn't want to risk my ammo rack in my front right corner, so I leave the IS to deal with him, while I head up this way looking for shots towards the south and the enemy base. My snapshot there doesn't quite make it, as Assassinated is finally taken down by the T32. However, from this position, I've forced the T34 back into cover and I have shots at the SU-100. So I decide to sit here for a little while. My left side is partially screened by a large rock. T28's already been removed from the game, which is good news for us. The enemy IS-3 is actually pushing into our base from the south, and there's nothing there to stop him. But looking at the minimap, it doesn't really matter, because we've established control of 2/3 of the map and are quite happily tearing into the enemy team. I decide to parachute down the hillside, partly because I'm being shot at, and partly because there are things down here I'd like to get up close and personal with. Initially I was thinking of going after that Tiger 2. Instead, I decide to take the T-34 as I can kill him in 2 hits, and he is in a bad spot with no cover. Unfortunately, my first shot isn't very good, hits the dirt, but I know I can beat him on reload, and so with the IS here to help distract him, I manage to take him out while he misses me. So actually the enemy team haven't quite lost as many tanks as I would have expected, given the tactical situation, so to speak. But they have lost control of the map, and in many cases losing control of the map means that no matter how many or how few tanks you have left, you're burned anyway. So you can see here the enemy Panther 2 never left his spawn for some unholy reason. I know the FE304 can shotgun me for a significant amount of health. I also know it can run away. So I take him out before I deal with the Panther 2 and get a lucky fire. Proto's engaged somewhere else and doesn't have line of sight to me yet. I kind of carelessly circle around this Panther 2. I'm, as you can tell, probably auto-aiming him to an extent. Here I break the auto-aim and go back to manual. Now, I am brawling rather badly. If I was playing better, I'd be much more up in his face, giving him my left corner instead of driving away from him, giving him room to depress his gun. But in this case, I was just kind of still shell-shocked by what the enemy team did. And in any case, I knew that I would have a fairly good chance of beating him in a straight-up DPM fight anyway, since although I think he has higher DPM, he wasn't very good at actually applying it. So I'm hoping for a little bit of a snapshot on this Luva. Unfortunately, it flies high and bounces off the side of his turret. The enemy Hellcat's almost to our cat, not that it matters. And our T-69 dives on him to make sure he's dealt with. So, pretty quick game of airfield. Just a little over 5 minutes to get that match done. I was able to get quite a considerable amount of damage just because the enemy team were throwing away hit points almost. The way they let us aggressively position in the north and take the whole series of rocks in this area rather than just our side really did give us map control. If you control only one half, you can basically cover an arc of your own side of the south. If you control both sides, you can effectively fire anywhere from D-line all the way down through their base into the south. You control the map. That north position is absolutely pivotal and definitely more important than the south hill, which is, in my opinion, too exposed, both in terms of lack of arty cover, and it's also exposed direct line of sight to the enemy from so many angles. So I definitely think the definitive, words are hard, engagement on this map occurs in the North Rocks. And then of course you have your TD sideshow up in the top corners to try and prevent people flanking around the North Rock engagement and coming in behind. I'm not sure if I really like this map, but it's one of those maps I do feel fairly comfortable with, in that I know how to play it. I know that my way of playing it is one of the more efficient ways of doing it, and until they introduce some serious changes to the map, I don't think that's going to change.